faith stories,
My now wife Chelsea was like, "Hey, you're coming to church with me on Sunday," and I was like, "All right, I've been looking at the Bible. Let's do this."
fishing memories.
When I first started, I was just fish, focus on the fish. And I see the kid catch a fish, I'm like, good job, perfect, awesome. And then he goes up there and I'm like, we're catching slot snook. And this kid's up here going, oh, the breeze. I'm like, this is exactly what it's about.
Meaningful conversations.
You have to stay in the Word. You have to have a good support system. You have to know what the end goal is. You have to know who God is.
Positivity. This is the Faith and Fishing Podcast. Your hosts, Cam Steele.
If your identity is you're an angler, whenever you're not doing well in the water, that's whenever you can't be content.
And Robert Randolph.
And his timing is perfect. We might not always agree with it, and we might not always understand it at the moment.
Bring you interviews with some amazing guests from the fishing community and discuss all things to do with fishing and their faith. Welcome to the family.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
Hey, and I'm Robert.
And the ridiculous noise that you hear behind me is my neighbor's dog Buckley. But we are back with another awesome episode. This week it is going to be Robert and myself, and we are just going to kind of get y'all caught up on everything that's going on with us in terms of fishing, and in terms of the podcast. Everything, kind of go over some goals that we have and kind of share some visions of the future and all that good stuff. So, Robert, how's it going, man?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. Just getting excited for the start of the kayak tournament season. When this comes out, we'll already know who won the Hobie on the Harris chain. This is the Wednesday before that, so they're down there practicing now, and so I'm kind of following some people in that and looking forward to following along on Tourney X. And I think right now there's 146 or 47 anglers signed up for it, so it's a little bit different this year. They've got the sign-up period goes all the way to Friday afternoon, I think, so you'll probably get maybe a couple more people that are close enough and get the itch to drive down there and sign up. So that'll be interesting to see. And then we got, I think the winter local trail, I think they're going to do one this next Saturday. So when this comes out on Tuesday or Wednesday, it'll be coming up this next weekend. Anybody in North Carolina, look up Carolina Kayak Anglers. So I think we're doing an online statewide deal on that Saturday, maybe the 3rd, I think is when it is, something like that. I don't know. But other than that, just working, going to watch kids play ball and doing the deal. What about you?
Same. Just got some parts come in for the sonar pod modifications that I'm going to be doing with the help of Nakwa and getting my feel free set up to get out there and catch some fish. I still have not had a chance to get it out. Robert and I were just talking before we hit record. The weather has just not cooperated at all with us. It has been ridiculous winds, ridiculous rains, and ridiculous cold temperatures that we've been dealing with. We talked about it last week. Today was 71, 72 degrees, something like that. Felt
Oh yeah,
muggy.
Yeah,
it
you
felt
needed
like
air conditioner today. Yeah.
But we are like this Saturday. It's supposed to be a little warmer, but it's supposed to be a complete washout, rain all day long, and I'm like, and storms all day long, and I'm like, seriously, what's Sunday look like? And that
and
as soon as
everything around here is so blown out that it's hard to find any water that's not, I mean, just totally blown out. All the rivers and lakes are, still real high. And then with the rain this weekend, it's going to be the same way.
Yeah, and then Saturday it's going to be kind of off and on rain, or Sunday it's going to be kind of off and on rain and really windy. So I'm like, man, I don't know that I'm going to be taking it out this weekend either. But it'll give me a chance to get that sonar pod built. I'm gonna film that and hopefully get some more content creation stuff started this year than I did last year. I keep saying that every year and never actually follow through on it, but maybe this year's the year. And at least until May. Get all the stuff filmed before May, and then whenever I'm up in the middle of the night rocking the baby, I can maybe do a little bit of editing or something. But
yeah, the editing is the time consuming part. I've got a lot of video that needs to be edited, but it's the time of the editing, and I think there's a lot of people that get a good process down on using the voice commands on GoPros, even though that's mildly aggravating when you're watching a video, like stop recording GoPro or start recording Go. That's a little bit aggravating, but it also helps those people that do it that way get the content out, because they really don't have as much video to go through, because they're starting and stopping a whole lot more, at least one of their camera angles anyway. So
right.
Once you get a system down, it becomes easier, but I haven't found that system yet. I just keep all the cameras rolling, and then sometimes just the management of the storage of all the files is cumbersome, because those files are super big. And so I've got some external drives, and just the fact of switching them from the SD cards to the external drives to edit, it's a whole process, which
and a lot of times you're looking at 6 to 10 hours of footage some days. It's that's a lot of footage. And like for me, it's like I have two cameras. They're Tacticams, so they have the button that I can press and be like, all right, I can save that one, like the last however long I set it for. But I can't reach either of my cameras. One's way up over my head, and the other one is way up at the front of the kayak. I can't just reach over and hit the button. So I just put a big SD card in, plug them into a battery, and just let them roll all day.
Yeah.
But
that's what I do. I do the same thing too. Now on the Tacticams, I watch a lot of duck hunting videos, YouTube, and is that the one where they have the option where I see a lot of people have that mounted under their barrels, and they bounce their gun, and there's some kind of vibration that turns that on and off. And I don't know if it's the Tacticam brand or not that does that, but I see a lot of people, they'll have another view, and then they'll want that view down the barrel of the shotgun, and you'll see them in the duck blind, and they'll hit the gun and then raise it up when they get ready to shoot. Is that the same? Do you know anything about that?
So that is the same company that makes the camera. That's like the original Tacticam. And it's the one that's called the Tacticam. I think they're on like version 5.0 or something like that now. But I don't know much about their hunting one. The one that I have is called the fisheye. And that's the one that I want to say they worked with Chad Hoover on to get that dialed in, but the same company, just different camera, so I'm not as familiar with that one.
Cool.
But yeah, we've you hinted last week about something going on with Berkeley and the Tackle Talk podcast, and you didn't want to spoil it for me. I have now listened to that podcast, so if you wanted to mention whatever it was you were going to mention last week.
I don't even have any idea. I just know that I don't even know what I was going to tell you or I didn't want to tell you, but I just found that podcast was like, super cool to listen to. I just thought there was a lot of information that was shared in that. I guess probably the one thing that sticks in my brain about that podcast is oily scents don't work. It has to be a water based, which I'm using. I don't even remember what kind I'm using, but I know they're in a tube like toothpaste. So it's not I don't feel like what I'm using is an oil base. I'm sure it has some type of oil in it, but it dissolves pretty easily in water. So I don't know. It's something I need to look into definitely, because that's one thing that stuck out in my mind was the oil base versus the water base scents. But other than that, I'll have to go back and re-listen to our podcast to see maybe if that jogs my memory.
Okay, yeah. I will say the one thing that really stood out to me is how good of a journalist Andrew Hayes is.
Dude, it's ridiculous. I mean, just the questions that he asked, and he had the part at the end where, he recorded other people asking questions, and then he asked questions, and and even from, I don't know how long he's been doing his podcast, but I'll listen to it from like almost the first couple of ones. I found it wasn't very long into what he was doing, and you listen to it, and I'm like, damn, this dude is good. Like, this is like well put together, professional. I'm like, this has got to be somebody that was a radio DJ that is so comfortable talking. And then, maybe I followed him on Instagram or whatever, and I'm like, this can't be the same guy. Like, this is no way that this is the Tackle Talk guy. And just you see him and just his knowledge for, I'm not even sure how old he is, but he's a lot younger than I am for sure. But just his knowledge and his, like you said, his journalistic ability, if that's a word. But I mean, he was asking some very good questions, and he does too. And you can hear that in all of his podcasts. I mean, he has no telling how much time he puts into each one of those, researching and getting his questions together. And yeah, they're fun to listen to.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he's so good at just presenting the information to you. Like, even though he has things that it's like, this is what I believe in. Like, this is the brand that I believe in, but he's not going to he's not going to take away from another brand if it's like he'll straight up tell you that the most comfortable bait caster to hold is the new Daiwa 100 or the Tatula 100, even though he is a diehard Shimano guy. So he's so good at presenting that information to you, because like with Berkeley stuff, take it or leave it. Like, listening to the Berkeley scientists, that's great and all, but they work for Berkeley.
Oh yeah.
So, to a certain extent, they're still salesmen. So I'm not going to take everything they say as gospel, but it's nice to have that information there. And it's another piece of information that I can take with me. And on that day that I'm having a little bit of trouble getting a bite, I can be like, the Berkeley scientist said this. Maybe I should try this. So it's just he does a really good job of just presenting that information to you in a way that is literally just, I am writing this journal, this journalism piece that it's just presenting information, no bias, no opinion, just this is what they said.
Yeah, and you do have to listen to that with a grain of salt. And I don't know, I haven't seen any other videos come out about that or anybody else talk about that. I'm sure there's probably some more stuff out there, because there was a lot of content creators that were at that meeting. I know. So, I'm sure there'll be some stuff coming out if there's not already. I just haven't seen it. But yeah, you do have to take that with a grain of salt and understand that, yeah, those people work for Berkeley. Berkeley put it on to put more information out there and to get people to put content out about it, so more people listen to it and go buy their products. There's no doubt about it. But it still, to me, is hard to believe that a company that there's anybody else out there that's putting as much research into bass fishing and baits as what Berkeley is putting into it.
And I will say, like, how smart on Berkeley's part
yeah,
to have a science expo, a bass fishing science expo, and have it at NASA.
yeah.
Like,
The whole
to
thing
present
was
it as a science expo to begin with, and then, I mean, this was just a, like, we're releasing 2 new baits. That's what this was, and then that's all they had to do, and they turned it into something completely, like, something that they're going to have to redo every year. Like,
yeah.
it ended up being
I don't know if it'll have the same impact if of every year, but definitely occasionally I think they're going to have to go back and do some more of that. And I mean, it was whatever marketing person came up with that is not getting paid enough, because it was put together well, and they're going to get a lot of exposure out of that, for no telling how long, because people will still pull up those podcasts and videos. And that's the cool thing about putting content out there. I've got about, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 videos, but there's about 3 or 4 that always outperform. And I did them a long time ago, and it's some of the crappiest videos that I've ever done. And they consistently get views year round. Not a lot, but a lot for me compared to the other videos that I've done. It's just that content is going to be around for forever. And it's pretty cool. I mean, I hardly even, I'll watch sports on TV, but normally if I turn something on, it's on YouTube, and it's either fishing related or, I don't know. I'm pretty good. I like some car wrecks too. So you might go down a rabbit hole of just, dash cams. That's pretty good stuff too. But, yeah, that Berkeley stuff is top notch, and I'm going to look for some more stuff coming out. But right now, I'm cramming videos of Lake Murray, trying to get ready for this Bassmaster deal that's coming up, which is one thing I wanted to talk about. I know you've got a list of things you want to talk about too, but this Bassmaster going on at Murray. As of this morning, there were 66 people signed up for it, and it's exactly a month from today, or as the calendar rolls. Today's the 24th, and it's on February the 24th. So, 4 weeks out, and this morning there were 66. Tonight there's 6. The last time I looked, there were 69. But I put together a little map of where all those people were from, just because sometimes I get bored at work and have too much time on my hands. But it's pretty cool to look at. I think the Northeast is dominating where everybody's coming from so far, and I don't know how far those people are driving, but Massachusetts has a ton of people in there. There's some New Hampshire people in there. I think a couple Connecticut, but it's pretty cool to look at. And South Carolina, North Carolina, there's not many people signed up from the states that are right around there, and it's because it's a month out. But with almost 70 people signed up with a month to go, I'm going to go on record as saying it's going to be probably the biggest Bassmaster kayak event that they've had. I think there's going to be, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to probably get 250 or more. And this will probably make them look at putting a cap on it. Right now, there's no cap. But this one, because of where it's located, and when you look at it on a map, obviously you're going to pull a lot of South Carolina, a lot of North Carolina, a lot of Georgia, a lot of Tennessee, and then not counting all of the PKAs, all the pro kayak anglers that are driving, and hitting almost all of, or I won't say almost all, but a lot of those guys and girls are hitting a lot of the Hobies and a lot of the Bassmaster events. So I think it's going to blow it out of the water. But I've been spending all my time finding content on Lake Murray and trying to figure out, where I'm going to fish at for that. And hopefully I'll get to pre-fish a little bit before it goes off limits, but with the rain and stuff, we'll see. But I know KBN this week too, going on that whole national circuit deal, had Carl Jacobson on. That was a good listen or watch. I'm sure a lot of people watched it live, but I usually go back and listen to that as a podcast. So I listened to that today, and I thought that was a really good. It was really interesting to me because, we're looking at kayak stuff all the time, and I feel like, he's sponsored by Hobie, and I feel like he fishes out of the kayak a lot. But it was surprising to me, like, they were asking him about rod storage, or, I think Lambert asked him, do you have something to store your tackle under the seat? He was like, oh, no. And he was telling him all this stuff, and Carl was like, oh, man, that's a great idea. I'm going to stop by the dugout, and I'm going to get that, and I'm going to get this. And, but it's really interesting. Like, obviously he's on the Elite Series, so he can fish with anybody that's in the kayak series. And there's a lot of great anglers in the kayak series, but it'll be interesting to me to see how he matches up. And he's doing it with no trolling motor, which I thought was interesting as well. You got this bass boat guy who's going just pedals when now you can use a trolling motor in the Hobie. So there was a lot of things about that podcast live show that I found very interesting. So definitely going to have my attention this weekend, or this past weekend when this comes out, but we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to get into, was not just talk about the national trails, but I wanted to see what you were planning on fishing this year.
So my plan as of now is I'm signed up for Murray already, and I'm going to see how that goes. If I can get in a close enough range where it's worth it to me to go do 2 more and try to qualify, I'm going to go and do the Susky, and then I'm going to go to, I think the other one is on Gunnersville, the next closest one for me. And I'm not sure they're in that order. But if I don't do well in in the Murray one, then I don't know. I may still go to the Susky because I want to go back up there. I did the Hobie 2 years ago up there, and
Need some redemption.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't catch a whole lot of fish, and I left a day early because I just felt like I needed to. I probably had sports stuff going on, or it's hard, and I've even heard quite a few podcasts lately talk about balancing that tournament, to drive to do tournaments, but then work, family, everything that's going on. That's one reason I'm not doing the Harris chain. I really wanted to go and do the Hobie on the Harris chain. And, my youngest son, he plays basketball. So he has a basketball game Friday night. I didn't want to miss that. And then it's early in the year to be traveling that far for me. And I don't know. I just, just that balance work. I didn't want to take a day off. I don't know. But, this, that whole balance and act. And so it's a big deal to take a couple of days. And even if you go pre-fish Thursday, even if I work Thursday or Wednesday and I go down, I drive from here and go Thursday and pre-fish, that's going to be all day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all day Sunday. By the time I get back, it's going to be 10 o'clock, which is not a terrible drive from here, but that's 4 days away from your family and your kids. And, for some of the younger people, some people are in different situations, but for me, so if I don't get in the top, I don't know, maybe 70 or so, I might do the Susky just because I want to go back up there. But if I did, I'd probably just go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll probably fish the Hobie on, Norman, I think, is where they're coming to. Of course, that's the no motor one because Queen City. But I'm okay with that. I did okay on Norman before, so I would probably fish that. And then I'm just going to do the Central Carolina kayak fishing. I'm already signed up for their Angler of the Year, and then I'm signed up for the Carolina Kayak Anglers Angler of the Year. So I'm just going to do the local stuff, but I have a list of a spreadsheet. You guys can find it, especially if you're North Carolina, because Dontrell Sullivan puts one together. So I stole his list that he had, and then I marked the ones that I wanted to do. And there were 17 that I wanted to do. So out of that 17, I'll probably end up doing, I hope to make like close to 10. I probably will end up like 8 or 9. And it's just according to how I do on the first ones and according to how I don't have our son's travel basketball or travel baseball schedule yet. So it'll be kind of where that falls to.
Right.
Yeah. What about you?
I hear you. Well, for me, I am planning on fishing a few of the CCKF stuff, but most of it just depends on when baby gets here, how everybody is doing, all that good stuff. So family is going to take precedence every year, but especially this year. We just probably not going to get as much fishing done as years past, but still am hoping to get out a few times and get after them, and enjoy some of the camaraderie and stuff. Because I mean, for tournament fishing, I am a competitive person, but I am not someone who needs competition in order to enjoy something. I'm not somebody who like thrives on competition. So for me, the camaraderie is why I fish tournaments. In a lot of ways, the competitive aspect takes some of the fun of fishing out of it for me. So I pick and choose the right ones, and then I try to pick and choose ones that I get to spend more time with people. So but yeah, we'll see how that ends up going. That's in terms of fishing, I don't have any lofty goals or plans or anything like that. I am hoping to hit the CCKF opener on Harris, and you know that lake and season openers has a bit of a history, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's a rough one. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Harris is going to be okay this time. I feel like I think we're due for a good weather event on Harris in early March. I think you get some of those March days that are in the 75, 80-degree range. And I swear there was one March when I was cutting grass. It had to be like 8 years ago. And I felt like summertime that year started in March. It got hot early and it stayed hot the whole year. So I'm not really wishing for it to get hot then, but hopefully there won't be ice hanging off the kayaks for that one, because we've been there and done that one before.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all are probably tired of hearing about it from us, but yeah, we've definitely been there, done that for the cold weather on Harris. And then I am looking forward to hopefully getting to join everybody for Raleigh Rumble this year. That's usually my other one that I try to hit every year. But that's going to be a month after, or actually less than a month after baby. So I don't know that I'll be able to get away for a day or not. And then, I'm kind of bummed that last year they said, that would be the last year
Yeah,
that they would allow Crabtree because apparently the people who like to wake up early are they get their feelings matter more than those of us who like to sleep in. So
I hear you. They want to get that morning bite. They want to get that morning bite, which I could care less when the thing starts. Everybody's on the same playing field. I don't care. He started at 9:00, which I understand people want to get out there early and get that, right at daybreak bite. And there is something to be said about that. But I also think there's something to be said about, having Crabtree in the mix on that. But it is what it is.
yeah.
But I'll hit on one more thing before you go to the next thing. So, you're going from one baby to two babies, which is a big step, and
Yeah.
a step that I have been through many, many moons ago. But, it's important to get those days where, and, me and my wife kind of trade that off, and it took us a while to figure that out. And, it's very, it's a hard balance to, to find that time to go, and where you don't feel like you're pushing too much stuff off on your wife, and vice versa. Like my wife she runs marathons and does a lot of races and stuff, and she'll have a race weekend and she'll go and run a race somewhere, kind of similar to what we do with the kayak tournament. So we'll go fish one or go camp Friday and fish Saturday, and it's a couple of day deal. But I told her, hey, go do your thing. And then guess what? Next month, I'm fishing this tournament. I already got it marked down. And she's just like, yeah, sounds good. And it's just one of those things you guys will figure out the balance between it, and kind of, scratch each other's backs, so to say. And, it's something good to kind of relieve that stress, because if you don't, then, that's no good for anybody either, because it'll be a little hectic for a while until you get into the groove of playing man to man instead of zone. Now you can just zone coverage that one.
And we have been so spoiled because Henry has been, I mean, obviously there's been a couple rough patches here and there, but for the most part, I mean, we've just been spoiled by that kid. I mean, with the exception of a few months whenever he just turned 2. I mean, he slept through the night since he was 6 weeks old. He he does fine with self-entertaining. Like, we can I can put him in the playroom and start fixing dinner and just keep an eye on him, and he'll go in there and he keeps himself entertained playing with his trucks and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if I was that way or not. But I there's no way we're hitting a lottery twice.
I would say probably not, but each one's different in their own ways, and then that's what makes them special as they get older. Like, all three of my kids are different in a lot of ways. They're the same in a few ways, but they're all different individual people, and they all acted different as babies. And that's what makes it great, though. And so and some of those things that were, you're in the moment that you're in, and it's just like anything else you go through. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore because the baby's been crying all night, or I've been up for 3 straight nights, and it's your turn to be up or whatever. And then years later you look back on like, man, and then it's cool to tell your kid, like, you know what, you kept us up a lot, or whatever. Like, we'll do that all the time, and but it's just one of those things. You guys will figure it out. You'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if we could just get potty training figured out, we'll be good.
Yeah, that'll come too.
We were really close, and then we switched from preschool or daycare to preschool, and that whole switch, we just kind of and it was a big setback for us. And so we've gotten back to the point where we are poop trained. We just, if the kid's wearing a diaper, he's like,
Hey,
I
I
know
tell
what
you,
this means. I don't have to. I don't have
that's
to.
right.
Gotta go potty.
I mean, they don't want to stop playing. They want to keep playing. They
Mhm.
don't want to take time to go to the bathroom. And you know what? I can't say that I blame them. There are sometimes, especially if I'm fishing, like I don't want to stop fishing to find a place to use the bathroom, or
Yeah.
stand up or do whatever you got to do. And I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, I roll with it as long as you can.
Yep. For sure. Um, but yeah, what else is going on in the fishing world that
Dude,
and
I mean, what about this rear side sonar live deal that you see everybody putting on there? I mean, there's so many different things like there's going on this season. To me, like watching all this unfold and people getting their boats ready and kayaks as well. Kayak side's going crazy too. But I can't believe the people that are putting the live sonar on the back of their boat and then putting a third graph or a fourth graph at the console, because now they're just going to run a live all the time. It's like live side imaging, and I've seen multiple pros post. I don't know if they're reels. I don't know. They're all linked together. Whatever platform you watch short form videos on, it's blowing up right now. If you watch fishing content with anglers testing out this rear live sonar, and I just can't help but to think it's coming to kayaks. I mean,
yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out how to get one transducer. These dudes are running 3, 4, 5 live transducers on some of these boats, and then I'm listening to some other kayak podcast. You got people running live and Mega 360 plus a regular graph. So you got basically you have, and then there's some people that are running dual live transducers. Let's put one in regular mode, and then we're going to go ahead and run another one in perspective mode. I'm just like, dude, I just want one transducer. Can I just get one? And now, even now, if you have one, you're going to be behind the game. Now, whether or not how much difference that makes, I watched Jordan Lee, and he was showing the screen on there, and it looked pretty damn good on that boat that he was on today. In the video that I watched, I was like, man, even I can see that's a fish right there.
yeah,
I mean, so I don't know. I think at some point in time, the boat side, they're going to have to put a limit on transducers, because if not, all you're going to have is a transducers going all the way around the boat and then just screens lined up all the way around the boat. So
right.
at some point, there's got to be a limit on the number of transducers. And
Yeah,
I'm all for technology. I'm not one of those people that don't think it should exist or whatever. But I do think at some point you're going to have to put a limit on it, because these dudes ain't going to stop.
yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you on that. I'm not in the ban it camp. Um, I mean, I I have nothing against it. It's not for me, and I say that only because it's never going to be in my budget. But I will say, I mean, I will say I'm surprised that they have not put a cap on it this year. I thought for sure this year, I didn't think they were going to ban it, but I thought they were going to put a limit on transducer numbers, because last year I saw it where there were pros that would have 5 transducers up at the front, and it was like it was they had 180 live, like
Yep.
180 degrees they could see it live. And it's like that's that's overdoing it.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, there's going to have to be a limit on the number of transducers. So, but then if they put a limit on it, are you still going to keep your regular down side, your one regular transducer? Are you going to go, let's just say they put a limit of 3. Then it's going to be, which ones do you want? Are you going to put 3 lives, or are you still going to have your regular side down imaging, your traditional.
I would imagine that they are not going to say you can have 3 transducers. I would imagine that it would be you can have 1 live transducer. They're
So
not going to put a cap on other transducers. I wouldn't imagine. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that would be my guess. Is they're going to put a cap on live transducers, but not on the others.
So do you think Mega 360 is a live transducer? Could you have Mega and a live? I don't think it's a live transducer because
it's not a live transducer because it gives you a picture of what's down there. It doesn't give you a video of what is happening right this second.
Yeah, I agree. But we're barring trouble asking that anyway because nobody's banned it yet. But I do think that in 2025, you're going to see somebody step up and say, you know what, there's going to be a limit on it because people are just going to keep putting transducers and screens on there. And it's, there's going to have to be a limit to it. And I mean, I don't know if the kayak side will or not, but I can't believe that people are running multiple live transducers on kayaks, but you see it all the time, especially the national trails. A lot of those tournaments were won with forward-facing sonar. So we'll see how this year goes.
I remember whenever we said, I can't believe people are taking 5 fishing rods on a kayak.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I couldn't do it with just 5 now.
Yeah. But I remember
because that's just because we're all too lazy to retie something. You could do it with 1. You just got to stop and retie it.
Yeah, I mean, but like I remember like that, and I remember like you put a fish finder on a kayak. How did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to use a paddle. So I mean, like, it doesn't surprise me that we have found a way to put more than 1 live transducer on a kayak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting though. I think that's been kind of that's the buzz that I've been kind of connected to is just that, and I think the NPFL. I know the first episode of the season we had Hunter Bogman on. We talked a little bit of NPFL then. I think that's just going to keep getting bigger, and I think eventually that becomes one of the main 2. Or either there's going to be 3 that are kind of on the same level, or you'll see MLF drop off, and NPFL will take its place as a 2. Now this may be a few years down the road, but I think that NPFL is just gaining momentum, and I think it's going to keep. Gaining momentum. You see them getting more bigger name anglers, and I think that's going to continue. I think it's going to continue on down the road the same way.
I'm going to go on record as to say in 3 years, NPFL is going to be the other national trail. It's going to be Bassmaster and NPFL. Those are going to be your top dogs.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I just, I don't have any. I like watching MLF. I don't think that it's been ran well, and I don't see any change coming to that. And I see them to keep losing anglers, except for that top tier, maybe 10. There's probably 10 that are going to, dominate that money wise anyway. But I don't know. I'd kind of like see everybody go to Bass and NPFL. It wouldn't hurt my feelings at all. But let's see what else other than that. You know what else kind of surprised me? I saw a post about KBF this week, and they're doing a total of 4 tournaments this year, all in, I think, all in the southern region. And then I was just going back and I was looking at some old Tourney X stuff, and In 2022, I'm not sure. I did a video on it. I'll have to go back and watch my own video, but I'm pretty sure they ran like something stupid, like 12 trail events that year. It was a lot. Last year they toned it down some, and then to this year see them go to 4. I'm not sure what their participation level is going to be. So I'm not really sure how that's going to end up. I fished a few of their things. I don't have anything against them. I know there's a lot of people that, kind of the same thing as the MLF, maybe in the past hasn't been ran as good as some of the other national trails. I can't speak to that. I haven't seen that personally, but it seems to be getting smaller and smaller, and everybody's going to bass and the Hobies. It'll be interesting to see what the motors, Hobie allowing motors this year. It'll be interesting to see what that does and where that goes. And I think it'll be interesting to see if Bassmaster has to put a limit. Right now, there's no limit, but I have a feeling that's going to happen because the number of anglers that are already signed up, the anglers that are what really caught me by surprise. There's either a couple of father-son duos, maybe a husband-wife duo. I think there's like at least two sets of names that are the same last name from the same place that are related somehow. Maybe 3 sets. And that got me thinking, like, okay, people are doing this Bassmaster kayak deal that don't normally do the national trails. And a lot of those people are the ones that are signed up early. I signed up early just because I had enough money at that time. And I said, yeah, I better sign up now while I got $250, because there's always things that come up with 2 kids going, starting, one kid in college, another one about to start and ball. And as much as we travel and do stuff, I was like, I got $250 laying around. I'm signing up. But there's a lot of people that are signed up for that don't, I feel like, normally fish the national trails. And I don't even think you have your regular national trail people signed up yet. So it's going to be very interesting to me to see how many people are at Lake Murray.
Yeah, for sure. Well, real quick, let's thank our sponsors, and then I've got one more thing before we jump into what's your favorite.
Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle is one of the largest canoe, kayak, and cycling retailers in the Southeast, with a huge selection of kayaks, canoes, bikes, and all the accessories needed to experience paddling and cycling comfortably and safely. Get Outdoors helps to expand and educate the paddling community through their free demos held on local lakes in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, and through in-store clinics and on the water courses and demos, and will even get your new boat rigged up for kayak fishing for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or visit them online at shopgetoutdoors.com to be wowed by their selection.
All right. So I wanted to ask in terms of faith, in terms of this podcast, and in terms of fishing, give me one goal for each that you're pushing towards this year.
All right. Faith. I want to get through reading the whole Bible this year. I started doing it last year. I got about halfway and I fell off the proverbial wagon and I didn't follow up. But I really feel like the series that I'm reading, the first part of that is really the hard part to read, the Old Testament and a lot of the rules and regulations, so to speak, and quite cumbersome to read through that for me anyway. There are some other people that might want to know the lineage of everything, but so that's a faith goal, is to get through that this year. A fishing goal. I'm going to say catch limits in the tournaments. If I catch a limit on a tournament, the you're going to place well if you catch a limit, especially the local stuff. National stuff, you got to find some size in there to get up there. But the local stuff, catch a limit. And what else was it? Faith fishing.
And in terms of this podcast,
podcast. I think just to keep growing and keep having great guests, keep asking good questions. I think really, and I've been wanting to comment on this, and the listeners will say the same thing because I listen to a ton of podcasts, and I don't go back and I don't re-listen to the ones that we do a lot of times. Now, there are some times where I will go back and listen to parts of it just because I want to see how dumb I sounded. But but I will say, I feel like this year with the voiceovers and the work you did in between seasons, that's huge, because when you listen to that, it sounds really good. The intro sounds really good. So my hats off to you for getting that done. And I really feel like that puts us up into another level. So just hopefully now our content can match the intros and the voiceovers, and we can just keep it rolling. So what about you?
well, first, thank you for the kind words there. But for me, in terms of faith, I want to do more writing this year. And one of the things that I want to write is I want to start going back and listening to old episodes of the podcast, and I want to start writing down the things that have stood out to me, and eventually maybe end up making it into some sort of book, be it a devotional or a like a just a what's the word I'm looking for, just a memoir of stuff, and kind of just have another outlet to kind of put my thoughts and my spiritual side of things and out there, for myself and for others, if it ends up ever making it to that point. In terms of fishing, I want to, by the end of the year, I want to be able to stand up in my moken and fish. And I know that I will, like, the moken is not going to be a platform that I can, stand up and frog fish where I'm trying to hit a home run over the water with my swing on my hook set. But to be able to stand up and work a jerk bait the way it's meant to be worked, or to stand up and work a spook, that's going to be game changers. Like, stand up and like be able to skip under a branch with my popper 10 times easier than being sat down on the seat. Like, that's something that I want to really get to, hopefully by the end of the year. And then for the podcast, I really want to focus more on, and I haven't done it yet, but I really want to focus more on content outside of the podcast itself, and outside of, have social media posts other than just every week, hey, here's a new episode, here's a new episode. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but coming up in May, I am going to, I won't be on the show near as much, but I will still be, behind the scenes, and I'm hoping to be able to help out in that way. So I guess my goal is kind of twofold. One is to be, is to put out more content and focus on growth, and in that aspect. And then the other is to, not completely disappear whenever I go on shall we call it paternity leave?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, this season, Nakwa Adventure Gear has come on board to really help us out with our "What's Your Favorite" segment, and with our ability to power our kayaks, and with that power bank, power our everyday lives too. But so big shout out to them, and we are. Even whenever it's just me and Robert, we're going to do a little bit of what's your favorite. So we're going to get that started now.
It's time for What's Your Favorite, powered by Nakwa Adventure Gear. Power that fits in the palm of your hand.
All right. And I put this up there so that I would remember to do it, and I have not done it yet. But if you're watching now on up on that corner up there, we have the Nakwa logo. I've been meaning to do it since the start of the season, and I had forgotten about the logo thing there. So if you're wondering what that blue thing is up there, that's what it is. All right, Robert, what's your question?
Well, I have two questions. So do you want to do yours first in case we came up with the same question, or you think that's impossible?
Well, I came up with two also for the same
Okay.
reason.
All right, cool. All right. Then I'll go first. Which one do I want to ask? I'm going to go with your favorite fishing lure of all time.
Favorite fishing lure of all time. Wow. Of all time.
Yep. I already know what you're going to say.
You do?
I think so.
I'll
I'll tell you if it's right.
Gosh. That's such a hard one because I can take that question in so many different ways.
Yep. You can only pick one.
But I am going with the Panther Martin. The Panther Martin inline spinner.
Okay, that's a good one.
That is what I grew up. That's my first memories of bass fishing, and I to this day, doesn't matter what time of year, I know that if I am in a situation where I just need a fish, I can tie on a Panther Martin, and everything from trout to catfish to panfish to bass to whatever, I'm going to put something in the boat.
Yeah, those are good. I was looking at some of those today online. Somebody posted a picture of, I don't know, it was maybe a new company that came out with the version of an inline spinner. I was like, man, that looks good. But I thought you were going to say Popar. Yeah.
The rainbow trout color, the pink and white one with the feathers on the hook.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say Popar.
That was up there.
Yeah.
That was up there for sure. What about you, man?
If I just had to pick one, I would probably have to go. My favorite, and this is not what I catch the most fish on, but a spinner bait. I love throwing a spinner bait. Like I'll throw it, and when nothing's hitting it, I think I just like watching it come through the water. Something about a spinner bait. It's just you can feel it, and I don't know. I've always liked just a regular spinner bait. Now, I do like some inline spinners and rooster tails, and I think everybody that's the first lure that I threw was like an inline spinner, rooster tail, the MEPS with the little gold and red lines around the piece of metal, and
right.
There was another one that was I think the name of it was a Blue Fox. That had like a little bell that would make some rattles, as it's going through. I used to love throwing those too, but just a regular spinnerbait.
Yeah, the Panther Martin was the one that my dad swore by and swears by, and I mean they're made like a bullet. You can cast them a mile. And I mean, if you're multi-species or bass or whatever, I mean, they're just made to catch fish. I don't know what they're supposed to look like in the water. I don't know how they trigger bites, but whatever it is that they're supposed to look like, they apparently do it.
Yeah.
All right. So since you went a fishing route, I'll go a different route. What is your favorite potato chip flavor?
Man, that's tough. I mean, it's really it's between like that. There's a cheddar sour cream mixture Ruffles makes. It's between that and really it's probably a three-way deal. I'm going to go with the cheddar sour cream because I think that's my favorite. But the three potato chips that are up there is barbecue, sour cream and onion, cheddar sour cream. But I'll go with the cheddar sour cream. It's pretty good.
I don't know what it is about that cheddar sour cream that everybody is so like enamored with.
Oh, I love it.
It is not a bad chip by any means. Like, it is a good chip. It is a top tier chip, but it is also the most overrated chip because everybody is like, it's the best one ever. It's
Yeah, I like it. But now I will say that it has to be a Ruffles type chip. It has to be the thicker, you know. Now if it's like a Lay's type chip, it's definitely barbecue or the sour cream and the thin Lay's type chips. Ruffle chips, the bigger ones, it's the cheddar sour cream all day. And now I like Pringles too. I mean, I can really, you give me a can of Pringles of any flavor, I'm good. I like those too. But yeah, I mean, I almost said tortilla chips too because it's pretty good. Tortilla chips, queso, salsa. I mean, that's up there too. I eat a lot of tortilla chips. But I know you're talking about flavored chips, so I didn't go that route.
Yeah, I didn't say corn chips. I said.
What about you?
So I love Ruffles. I do love Ruffles, but my favorite flavor for a potato chip is salt and vinegar.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one too.
I have always been a salt and vinegar fan. I'll sit there and eat them till I have blisters on my tongue.
Yeah,
I'm all for it, man.
Yeah, salt and vinegar's good. My wife is like, I don't see how you can eat those things. I'm like, man, they're good. It's almost like a barbecue sauce, really. That vinegar based barbecue.
Yeah,
it's right there with it.
All right. Well, that was fun. I enjoy adding that aspect to our Just Us episodes. All right, man. Well, that's really all I had to talk about for this episode, man. Did you have anything you wanted to add last minute?
No, that's it, man. I mean, I think it was good. I'm ready to get the season started. I'm ready for I know we probably still got a couple colder weeks. February in North Carolina, there's usually if we get snow, it's usually in February. For some reason, the last few years it's been that way.
Yeah, I've got a coworker from New York. He just moved down here, and he's like, "Is this how it always is?" I was like, "No." Nah. He was like, "Does this mean winter's over?" I was like, "No, you got 3 more cold snaps.
Yeah,
you got 2 more in winter, and one
you
more
get to the late March,
and one more that we call a blackberry winter.
Yeah,
and it's after everything's bloomed."
Yeah, I was kind of jealous of all the Tennessee people because even like I'm from Middle Tennessee, like North Middle Tennessee, and usually Northern Middle Tennessee you'll get some snow every year, but man, there's a big swath all the way down Southern Middle Tennessee, all the way down into Alabama. Those guys got 6 to 8 inches of snow, which I was jealous of that. I could have dealt with 6 or 8 inches of snow out here. That would have been fine with me.
Nah, that kind of snowstorm would be an all hands on deck situation where I would be sleeping.
Yeah, for you.
Like at work, I would be sleeping in one of the hotels on the property.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't.
Yeah, that was no good for you, but I could do it though. That'd be fine.
All y'all that are constantly praying for snow in North Carolina, y'all can hush your mouths.
I hear you.
All right. Well, speaking of prayer, let's go ahead and pray and close this one out, man.
All right. Go ahead.
God, thank you for this podcast and this chance to just kind of spend time in fellowship and talk fishing and talk about how you interact with our lives and with our fishing. And thank you for this podcast and for everyone who's listening, whoever's listening right now. Pray that you touch them and hit them right where they are, and put on a show in their life and put on a show through this podcast. Continue to speak in and through us, and continue to bless this podcast and keep it focused on you and how you can continue building a presence in the outdoor community. God, we love you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode, y'all. Y'all take care and God bless.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Faith and Fishing podcast. Please consider supporting those that support us. Jade's Jigs lead-free finesse tackle. Use promo code FNF10 at jadesjigs.com for 10% off. Save your outdoors. Stop losing your gear. Use promo code FNFP15 at saveyouroutdoors.com for 15% off. Omnia Fishing. Check out Premium, Premium Pro, and their Ambassador program. Use promo code FNF10 for 10% off at omniafishing.com. And if it's your first order, use promo code FNF15 for 15% instead. Mr. B Lure Company. High-quality handmade baits made right here in the U.S. MrBLureCompany.com. Use promo code faithnfishn pods for 15% off your first purchase. Get outdoors, pedal, and paddle. Check them out at the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or at shopgetoutdoors.com for all your paddling and cycling needs. And Nocqua Adventure Gear, lighting, power, and all the connectors at Nocqua.com. Please rate, review, subscribe on whatever app you're listening on. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care and God bless.